And welcome back. So, US police in Kenosha have shot a criminal with a long criminal history. He hasn't died. He is instead in a critical condition, but seems to be recovering. So the police neutralized the threat to the public and the officers themselves, of course, and as such was there to help prevent further harm to anybody in the surrounding area. Ordinarily, you would not think this would be news. This sounds very straightforward, matter of fact. Very good. The police are doing their job. They've got a violent criminal, and because of him causing a threat, they then neutralized him by shooting him, and problem solved. But you would be mistaken, because would you hazard a guess as to the race of this man? And you might be thinking, but that doesn't matter. And you'd be completely correct. Except you're forgetting that when it comes to BLM protesters, as in the self-proclaimed Marxist/communist organization that wishes to rid the nation of the family unit, then they care a lot about race. And don't you know that according to them, that black people can do no wrong because they are black, and police can do no good because they are police. And therefore, when it comes down to police shooting a black man, it does not matter what the context is and what happened beforehand and what led it to cause to that final outcome. That is irrelevant completely, don't you know? All that matters in the end is police shot black man. And that is why there are protests. And maybe you think I'm being hyperbolic. So maybe you'd like to see the video in question. So let's have a look at that then. So I'll zoom in. As we can see, he's walking around, he's been tasered. The police do have their guns out. So he goes in the car to reach down for something, at which point he was shot 7 times. And with that lack of context, you're probably on the fence. You're going, well, this guy doesn't seem to be fighting against the police. He's getting in his car, so what's the problem? And you'd almost be right, except then, of course, you've got to look at what Andy Ngo tweeted out as information for how the police knew him through just a quick license plate search that, according to The Independent, Andy Ngo is a right-wing commentator. Yes, the gay Vietnam immigrant. I mean, he is an American citizen, but his parents are Vietnamese. Yes, he is a right-wing commentator now. It's bloody ridiculous. Just because he's had permanent damage from Antifa beating him up and causing a brain hemorrhage, now he's a right-wing. Don't you know, if you get bashed in the head by fascists and communists, now you're right-wing. Good job, Independent. So what did he tweet out? Well, he tweeted out the history of the man, Jacob Blake, who got shot. And it might interest you to know that previously he's had a history of sexual assault, violence, and pulling guns on police. So, in this instance, for example, when he has 1 felony account of resisting arrest causing a soft tissue injury to a police officer, and 1 misdemeanor count each of carrying a concealed weapon, carrying a firearm while intoxicated, endangering safety use of a dangerous weapon, and disorderly conduct, which, if convicted, and this was a few years back, would face up to 8.5 years in prison and or up to $50,000 in fines. Of course, it hasn't been 8.5 years yet, but he pulled a gun in the bar, magazines fell to the floor, didn't have them, then drove off. That was given to the police. So, of course, they then tried to arrest him again. He refused to comply. So, Canine Dozer, what a great name for a canine, was deployed to force the defendant into compliance. Yes, you let the dogs loose on them. Good job. So, I say that when in hospital, he refused to answer questions. He did submit to a legal blood draw to determine his level of intoxication, which was 0.144. So, very much drunk at the time. And when he was taken into custody, he was searched and police say he had a holster on his hip but no gun. Okay, not a threat, except a subsequent search of the SUV turned up a black handgun on the floor behind the driver's seat, and a box of ammunition was also found, and 2 loaded magazines were discovered in Blake's coat. So, this is not somebody that you might think, oh, he's just a law-abiding citizen and there isn't a problem. No, and how many times again and again and again and again must we show that apparently the martyrs, the great people that the communists of the BLM movement wish to prioritize and say that, hey, these are such great people. How many times do we have to show that no, they are criminals. They are career criminals. They have an extensive criminal history. They do not respect the police or the citizens around them. They do not give a shit for the lives of those around them. They are a threat to society at large. So of course the police are going to go after them when they're called in because of what is happening. And yes, of course, Crump, who's the same defense attorney for George Floyd now, and now for Jacob Blake as well, is saying, well, it was just a domestic disturbance, which Jacob Blake was being the nice guy and trying to stop. You're thinking, well, then why was he tased? And why was he then going into his SUV, his silver SUV, which previously had a gun in it, and of course he previously had loaded magazines in his coat, as well as more ammunition in his car, that he was leaning across in order to get something, and we do not know what he was going to get, but what possible reason could you have to disobey police saying, stay still, just get on the ground, let's work these things through, to then ignore them and go into your car? There is no good reason. It wasn't as if he was communicating with them to say, yep, okay, like, you want my ID, that is in my car, let's go get it, at which point they would say, no, you just tell us where it is, and we will find it. Then that would have been perfectly acceptable. But no, he didn't do that. So, as you saw in the video, with the policeman trying to grab his shirt to not allow him in the car so he wasn't a threat, he then resisted, went forward, and that is why, of course, the police shot him. Because I'm sure we've seen, and I don't need to show, countless times the police have been more hesitant and been shot because of it by the criminals. And so which would you rather see? A criminal who got shot after resisting arrest and reaching into his vehicle for who knows what, or policemen who have served the community for many years, who now can't go home to their family because they were shot by criminals, because they were being kneecapped by the legislation, the local counties, the states, whoever it may be, saying that they cannot protect themselves. Which would you rather see? A criminal being shot, or the police being shot? Now, yeah, all lives matter, by all means, but when somebody goes into such a provocative position unnecessarily, and has a history of resisting arrest and fighting police, and having weapons in their vehicle, then I think that's very much a justified shooting. Don't you? What would you rather do? Wait another minute until they get shot? No. I think that level of self-preservation is definitely justified. And of course we'll know more once body cam footage is released, but until then, we're going with what the onlooker video has to show. And from everything that we can see there, it's very much justified. So why the fuck does this create protests? Might it be because they don't give a shit about police brutality? That isn't their point whatsoever. Their point is, simply put, black people should be able to get away with anything, and there should be no police. So, might you like to mention how that turned out with the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or the Occupied Protest, chop or chairs, and the amount of murders happening there? How we've got dozens of murders now in the aftermath of the riots from the death of George Floyd. And yeah, I say death and not murder, because it was the death and not murder, because he was off his nuts on intoxicating substances. So, yeah, the BBC love to include that at the end. And before they used to say that he was killed, but now instead they're just saying that the white officer's been charged. Instead. It's like, yeah, you're kind of backtracking now, BBC, aren't you? Almost as if you were lying from the offset. Just trying to create racial tension and hatred, so that there would be dozens of deaths of innocent civilians, including black police officers. Good job, BBC. How the fuck do you sleep at night? Going, yes, we're going to encourage all this racial hatred so that more innocent people will die. How the hell is that helping anybody? You want to talk about protecting people? Well, okay. How many clicks on your articles is worth an innocent person dying? If you want to play that game, I'll play it with you. How many people are you okay with who are innocent, nothing to do with any crime whatsoever, being shot, stabbed, knocked out, killed, whatever, so that you get your clicks? Because that's what you're encouraging. So, what is your end game? Or is it that, well, we're going for the greater good of communism, and therefore we can't have Donald Trump because he gives the idea that people are responsible for their own actions, and once the ethnic minorities realise that they can actually achieve things on their own and they don't need help from the white man, then they're going to realise that they don't need a massive government state, and therefore there is no cost high enough in order to pursue a narrative. Is that it? Is that really your end goal? To say, yeah, we can have... Doesn't matter how many people killed. I mean, we've got over 100 million through communism already in the past century, but hey, what's a few hundred more in the grand scheme of things? Because we'll definitely get to our utopia this time, and it's far better that we kill off hundreds of civilians instead of people realising that they're responsible for their own destiny and can decide things for themselves. Is that really the narrative from the BBC? Really? Because that's bloody well what it seems to be. So, in the aftermath of this, Wisconsin, their authorities, what have they said? Oh, there appears to be a shooting, and we should wait for all the evidence to come to light so we don't make any rash decisions, and it's important that we understand the events that have gone on so that the police don't feel undermined and that they can't do their job? Or have they instead decided, oh, there appears to be a bit of a mob outrage and they're causing millions of dollars, if not more, of property damage and more people are at risk of losing their lives, therefore we'll just cave into the mob and say, yes, this police officer doing their job with a justified shooting is actually in the wrong, and it's clearly racism and nothing to do with the individual in question. Yeah, that's the one they seem to have gone with. Why? How the hell, as a police officer, somebody who is sworn to serve and protect, that then realises, if I try to protect and serve, then the authorities, the people who are paying me, the people who are in charge of my job, are then going to just back out at the nearest sign of conflict when the going gets tough, when it's important that we're able to do our job, when it really matters. That's when they're going to just back off. Well, I don't think it's really worth trying to be a police officer, given the current climate, given that nobody's going to look out for me whatsoever, and instead of being rewarded for my hard work, perseverance, and keeping the community safe, I'm going to be reprimanded and maybe charged with murder. I don't think that's a very good agreement. Therefore, I'm going to tap out from this. Because that's what we're seeing. And of course it is. What do you bloody well expect? And I mean, look at New York if you want to see what happens when the police aren't around because they're bloody defunded. It's utter horseshit. So yeah, good luck. And you might even say, oh, but it's a libertarian utopia. To which I say, well, no, bloody well isn't. In libertarian utopia, you'd have private security, which is already being used in favour of the police, but because of the lack of taxes and therefore the increase in competition because there isn't a state-sanctioned police force, you'd have a greater competition driving costs down. And you could even look over to private versions of the TSA for their security at airports, at which point you see the private companies doing a significantly better job. So yeah, not only is private security already a thing, but private security in airports is doing a significantly better job than state-sanctioned TSA agents. So yeah, that would be the libertarian dream. But for now, what you've got is police officers being afraid to do their job because their bosses are going to hang them out to dry at the smallest sign of conflict. And instead of saying, hey, you rioters are bad, we've got the rule of law for a reason, instead they're saying, yeah, you can cause whatever damage you want and kill whoever you want. It doesn't really matter because, after all, a criminal got shot and died, well, didn't even die in this case, and he was black, and that's what makes the difference. We can shoot unarmed white people at a greater rate than unarmed black people. We can shoot white people at a greater rate than black people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because white people are expendable, don't you know? Whereas the black people are all angels, and they've got to be protected no matter what, and they can't be held accountable for their own actions because they don't understand what they're doing. Yeah, bloody great. And I really, really sympathise for anybody in these communities who doesn't actually realise that that's what's happening. That I would love a light to be shone on for them to say, hey, all you black people in this community, saying that you think that the governors or whoever are looking out for you, do you realise that it's because of their policies that you're being kept poor, and you have to be kept poor in order to vote for them because they rely on you being poor, and also they don't think that you have the intelligence or theory of mind in order to create your own life, and instead think that you have to be reliant on them to literally survive, even though your ancestors have gone through millennia of hardship in order to get to where you are. Yeah, how about telling them that? Then see where they line up. Would they rather just be an invalid, reliant on stealing other people's hard work? Or do you think maybe they think, no, actually, I'm a human being with worth, and I'm going to make a point of it? Because, hey, if Barack Obama can become president of the United States, then I'm pretty sure the barrier of entry is pretty damn low. So how about you stop blaming everybody else for your problems and start realising that it's about time you do something about it. If you want it, no one's going to give it to you. It's down to you to earn it. So as always, let me know what you guys think down below. And until next time, have a good one.